Now, if I was to ask somebody to mention an anime film, they would probably mention Akira, Ghost in the Shell, or one of the many Studio Ghibli titles. However, there's so many anime movies out there which people forget about. There's so many that go overlooked due to other people's works and the lack of publicity for anime movies in the West, seeing how they get released at a lot later date than in Japan and don't have the same build-up as the TV series do. So here's my list of 10 overlooked anime movies that you need to watch. For this list, I looked through a number of things that I thought were very great and influential movies that people often forget about, so nothing too popular here, as well as choosing movies from one director only, so you're not going to see the entire works of Satoshi Kon on this list. Now, these are not the most underappreciated anime movies. I think that garners its own list. At number 10, Summer Days with Ku the Kappa. Now, hearing this title, you might be thinking, wait, what did he just say? What even is this movie? Well, Summer Days with Ku the Kappa is a lesser known children's movie released in 2007, and it's about a young 4th grade boy who finds a fossil one day when out on the banks in Tokyo, and it's rinsed on the water and it hatches and becomes a kappa named Ku. Now, kappas are mythological creatures from Japan that are like part turtle and often found around riverbanks. Now, in this world, kappas became extinct 300 years ago, and so Ku is the last kappa, and the movie covers his story as he tries to move in with the young boy and his family and adjust to modern day Tokyo life. Now, this may sound like a very weird movie to include on the list. It's a children's movie about slice of life with a mystical creature. However, it's surprisingly good and surprisingly detailed. It's a good emotional piece as we see this young boy and his small friend. They're similar to style to stuff like E.T. or other young boys and talking pets movies. As he grows and he discovers more about life and helps the young baby kappa to discover more about life, trying to get over its traumatic experiences, seeing its father die and being flung into the future like this, it has sort of a real world take on it as the small creature becomes famous. And the movie is very sad. It did make me cry, I will admit, but Ku the Kappa, give it a try. Number 9, A Letter to Momo. This 2011 movie by Production IG is probably easily mistaken as a Studio Ghibli film. It has the same sort of feel and aesthetic, but it's very unique in its own way. The story follows the young girl Momo. I'd say young, she's like a teenager, but still. She moves with her mother to a small remote island village where her mother grew up to stay with her grandparents following the death of her father. She's distraught with sadness, seeing how the last thing she did with her father was argue, and she finds a note left to her from her father which he never finished, starting with Dear Momo. This tale is very unique and very touching as we see a young depressed girl trying to deal with death, moving into a place which she doesn't want to be. She's not happy in life, and she meets these 3 sort of mystical Japanese ghost spirits who hang out in her area, and she's the only one who can see them. She has to deal with them, and it kind of distracts her from her worries in life. She has to try and learn how to adjust following death and how to think about more than just herself. Similar to the first movie, it's teenager meets Japanese mythological being and grows themselves whilst helping them to grow as well. It's very touching. It has some very good scenes in it, especially towards the end, and it's an emotional roller coaster overall. A Letter to Momo. Number 8, One Piece Movie 6, Baron Omasuri and the Secret Island. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait, what? Is he seriously saying to watch a One Piece movie? When it comes to One Piece, you're in either one of 3 camps. You've seen it all and love it and have already seen this movie. You've tried One Piece, didn't think it was for you. Or you look at the vast amount of media there is, almost 800 episodes, about 13 movies, and you think, maybe I'll give it a miss. This movie 6, the fact that it's a titled movie does not help it much to stand out. It's often overlooked, even by One Piece fans. Some probably just remember it as that one movie that had a really weird art style. However, it's a very unique movie, and it's for everyone, despite whether you know anything about the world of One Piece or not. And let me tell you why. This movie is from director Mamoru Hosoda, who's more well known for his works on stuff such as Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, and Summer Wars. Now you might be thinking, wait, didn't he say he's only doing 1 movie per director and he's chosen a One Piece movie over those ones? It's because this One Piece movie isn't just that. it's a work by Hosoda, which is probably one of the most honest we see to him. The plot of the movie follows the One Piece crew as they arrive on an island and are met by the Baron Omasuri. He challenges them to a series of games over the course of the whole movie, which sees them having to try and work together to overcome these trials and gain the prize. However, the movie's much deeper than that. Over the course of the movie, the main characters all start to fall apart. They start to argue, they start to lose their trust in one another as part of the main villain, Baron Omasuri's plan is to take the crew and to pull them apart, like what happened with his own crew after he was horribly betrayed. He wants them to betray each other, he wants people to feel the same shame that he did, and he wants to inflict that onto others like him. He's a very sad and cruel character in this movie, and the show shows how the main cast eventually have to band together when only Luffy is left and he has to try and save his crew, and they have to realise the importance of trusting one another, the importance of friendship, may you say. Now this may sound like a very somewhat generic movie plot, but in essence it's quite different. Mamoru Hosoda made it quite a personal piece, as before this he was meant to be directing the movie Howl's Moving Castle, which you probably all know, by Studio Ghibli. He was set to pen this as director, however upon seeing his work, Hayao Miyazaki said that he disagreed with the direction that Hosoda was taking and he took over the movie himself. This almost ruined Hosoda's career as he was forced to leave Studio Ghibli. He felt betrayed by the people he had trusted, his work colleagues and Hayao Miyazaki. So, looking at it from that direction, this film takes a very different light. It's sort of his revenge story, it's sort of his call out against Ghibli. The main villain is meant to be Hayao Miyazaki, who's trying to be a cruel older man, taking control and forcing others to suffer. It's really cynical look on the movie industry in Japan, or at least the animation industry. The art style in it is unique and great, it has good music, it's a highly enjoyable movie for all ages, be you fans of the series or not, so be sure to give it a look. Number 7. Interstellar 5555. Now this is a movie that some of you may have seen clips of before in the music videos for Daft Punk. However, this movie itself contains no dialogue. The whole thing is like one giant music video as the scenes of the movies play out to the various songs of the Daft Punk album Discovery, often called one of their best works. We see a race of aliens that are kidnapped by humanity, and a number of them playing in their band are brainwashed and their skin colour is changed so that they look like humans. Taken by an evil record corporation and forced to work and produce records to become great hits. One alien who is a big fan of theirs sees this and he comes down to Earth in order to try and rescue them and free them from their slavery. It's a very interesting movie. Despite having no dialogue, it has a very decent plot, it's very easy to follow, the music fits the scenes perfectly, it has action, the visuals are great, the characters are quite well built up through their actions. You feel emotional towards them. The movie itself became quite well known for this, being really different and something out there which hadn't been done too much before. If you're thinking you're having second thoughts about it, you really should try the movie. It's an excellent piece which shouldn't be missed. Unfortunately, a movie which is just made up of music is quite hard to talk about without spoiling it. Number 6. Night on the Galactic Railway. Now this movie is very unique and it's not very widely heard of. After watching it I was surprised to find that it was so lowly ranked on the MyAnimeList scores, but then again I do see why. This movie isn't what you expect. It's often described as a children's movie, it's based off a German children's book. However, the movie itself, despite being like that, is definitely not a children's movie. It has very slow pacing, it's very long, and it's very different from what you would expect for a movie where all the main characters are cats. It centres on a young cat who's bullied, depressed and just waiting for his father to return home. He has to look after his ill mother and his life is quite bleak and harsh. One day he and his friend discover a sort of magical train which appears. Now this might seem like your great fantasy adventure, like the Polar Express where he takes a train to go and meet Santa, but it's very different. The tone isn't uplifting, it's very slow, it's very dreary, and you start to realise something's different when you start to have a lot of religious references in it, such as hymns, crucifixes out the train windows. The movie also is not clear, at least at first. It's very confusing direction it's going in. There's a lot of bizarre, unique imagery. However, one of its strengths is that over the course of the movie, you begin to learn, you begin to gain a greater picture and realise what the movie is actually about. It really is a thought-provoking piece, which is why often it's called the greatest children's movie. I say often, rather rarely, but in essence that's because it isn't a children's movie. It's more of an art piece, and I had to have at least one of those on this list. If you want a metaphorical, artsy classic, then Night on the Galactic Railway is right up your alley. Number 5. Tekken Concrete. This is a very unique movie. It has a very weird and original art style, which can be often seen in other things by studios 4 Degrees C. And it centres on 2 orphans called Black and White who live in the slums of this city, run by gangs and yakuza. They're sort of their own criminals, pickpockets and thieves, as they fight back in a sort of a gang war. When it's revealed that the town is going to be turned into an amusement park, the 2 have to battle to save their home. It's very bizarre in tone. It's not an uplifting movie as you might think from what I've talked about. There's a lot of dark and gory action sequences despite having child characters in it. The 2, as they're called Black and White, are very varied. White is kind of slow, very good-hearted and wants to do their best, whereas Black has violent outbursts and is more looking to make his own wealth and form his own criminal empire. It's very bizarre and it's very unique. You're not going to get much like this. It's an interesting ride the whole way through, and it's highly recommended by me. Number 4. Jin-Roh, The Wolf Brigade. Now, I had a lot of problems with trying to think of which movie by director, Mamoru Oshii, and in the end I went with this movie where he wasn't even lead director, to be fair. Mamoru Oshii is more well known for his works on Ghost in the Shell. Often he's called a very pretentious director, or many are called pretentious for liking his works. They have very clear metaphorical points behind them. They're known for being very artsy. But at the end of the day, I went with this movie which he was the original creator on, the 1999 hit Jin-Roh, The Wolf Brigade. The movie follows a soldier in the Special Police Force. It's kind of set in an alternative near future where after war the government in Japan has created their own Special Police Force to sort of fight against them and quell the masses. The beginning of the movie opens with a great sequence where they're chasing down a group and you see one soldier try and talk down a young girl who ends up blowing herself up and killing a group of people. The soldiers in this movie, their designs on their outfits are very good. They look like villains, with red eyes and clad in black, but they're brought forward as very human characters. Now the story follows this one soldier as he begins to doubt himself. He begins to question why he's a soldier, and he can't get over the death of this young girl whom he was unable to save. It's a touching movie, an emotional one which covers romance and various other psychological issues throughout its course. At times it can be very violent, but most of the time it's very metaphorical. It's very slow paced and it sort of builds up towards its very interesting climax, which I cannot spoil. But when watching this movie, it's not going to be what you expect. I think it's one of Mamoru Oshii's finest works and it's often overlooked for other things like Ghost in the Shell. Number 3. Sword of the Stranger. Now, this is one of the more well-known and more seen out of all these movies. A lot of people may purely recognise this movie due to its stunning action sequences, especially towards the end. However, the movie follows a young boy having escaped with only his dog by his side as his home's been burnt down. He's gone on the run and he's been looked for by the shogun, and that's when he meets a lone samurai. He pays him in order to become his bodyguard, and the story follows the 2 as they form an unlikely friendship and begin to look out for one another. Again, it's one of these sorts of films where both characters see great emotional growth, but it's also very well set. It has very many issues from feudal Japan. It covers many strange beliefs, but it's sort of a commentary on the past, as well as commentary on Japan's relationship with foreigners, as the main lone samurai himself is revealed to be a foreigner, and a lot of the villains in it are the Chinese, having come over and taken advantage of the shogun's position and his wish to gain immortality. Now, as I've said before, the animation in this is beautiful and the action sequences are just stunning. You owe it to yourself to have a look at this movie. It's the kind of thing that it wouldn't surprise me if it did get a live action adaptation at some point, because it wouldn't be impossible, and the film can be called one of the best movies of recent years, without a doubt. Number 2. Colourful. Colourful is, as with many of these movies on this list, a very unique one. It follows a lost soul who, after dying having created a great carnal sin, they are brought back in the body of a teenage boy who attempted to kill himself, and they're given the task of trying to find out what sin they committed in life. They're given another chance of living in the body of this teenage boy. Now this is a very emotional, depressing and touching movie. As you begin to realise what drove this boy in order to attempt suicide, you see the clashes in his family, you see the depression dealt with by a lot of teenagers at this age, a lot of issues you have to go through looking at romance, letdown, dealing with horrible family issues, and the stress that can cause. You really root for this character even as you see them making all the wrong decisions, knowing that it's not their fault. This really is one touching movie, which will probably make you bawl your eyes out, but it's damn worth it, which is why I recommend this movie whenever I get a chance. Number 1. Millennium Actress. Now I had to have a movie by the great director Satoshi Kon on here. However, I've gone with Millennium Actress for one clear reason. Often people overlook this compared to his other movies, like Tokyo Godfathers and Paprika are much flashier. And when I went through all of Satoshi Kon's movies, Millennium Actress was the last thing I came across. I kind of saw it as a documentary about an actress. I didn't think it was going to be anything particularly great, but boy was I wrong. It is without a doubt his strongest film out there. It's about a director, or rather two filmmakers, who are making a documentary about a bankrupt film producing company. They go to have a meeting with the retired legendary actress, with whom one of them is a huge fan, as she lives alone like a hermit in her own mountain home. And over the course of the movie, you kind of relive her life through this documentary. However, this isn't taught in the normal manner you would expect. It's taught almost like a movie. It's meant to be going through all the different movies, all the different genres she worked with in the past, and it's expressing them through her life values. Because she's an actress, her life's achievements, everything in her life has been made up with by the movies she was working on at the time. Now this works in a really good way. It kind of covers a wide variety of genres in a single movie. You also have the main two characters running through the movies, kind of speaking on par with the audience, expressing their emotions. It's a good look at the relationship between those behind the screen and those watching the screen. It has romance, it has action, it has so much to offer. Millennium Actress is a really touching movie. It's not nearly as dark and depressing as some of his other works, nor is it nearly as colourful and uplifting. However, as a piece of art and as a movie in itself, it's almost perfect. The pacing, the tone, the music, everything here fits so well together. It's the sort of thing that everybody needs to watch. And that was my top 10 overlooked anime that you need to watch. Keep in mind I have not watched every anime movie. I had a hard choice thinking about some things to include in this, some of which will be purely included in my underrated anime movies list. If you like this video, have a look at my reviews including games and anime such as Mobile Suit Gundam, random anime based talks, and also my Anime Versus series. This was Western Otaku, and until next time.